Hello, welcome to week 5. So we have an interesting topic this week. It's this topic of privacy. And it's really interesting because back in the olden days, you would just freak out if anybody found out anything about you, like if you had a diary or something. But now, if somebody doesn't comment on something you post, people freak out. So we're in an interesting era. But privacy and security are kind of big deals. And intellectual property and copyright, and there's lots of ethical issues involved. Let's take a look at what we have going on in Moodle this week, because we have a project that we're going to do, and we have some things that we're going to talk about in Zoom. And so we really need to be prepared for that. So in the think section, these are some videos that are going to really make you think. Now, I am telling you, so these two are assigned for sure. You should definitely watch those. This last one, it's about a 2-hour long video. It's pretty long, but it's the type of thing that you could like run while you're doing other stuff, like listen to it in the background. You don't really need to watch it because it's a discussion with Silicon Valley leaders about this ethics of technology disruption and what it has to do specifically with privacy and some other hot topics. I think you'll find that very, very interesting. Now, in the Learn section, I linked to the week 5 policy briefs because I was noticing that a lot of the comments didn't get made until the very last minute on the week 4 policy briefs. Let me clarify. The policy brief idea, that's sort of our textbook for the class. Like you really should connect in with that early in the week. We've got a couple of them that aren't posted yet. As they get posted, I will add them. But definitely read those early in the week. Give some really good feedback. So you can give like constructive feedback if they need to improve a section or add more information. But also think of some questions that you can ask. These policy briefs are meant to give you an opportunity to dig deeper. I'm picking some topics, but I'm not picking all the topics. And so the briefs are a good opportunity to see what other topics are out there. So definitely read those first. This document, I'm going to hold off on this document for just a minute, and it should be actually last, but there are a couple of videos. The one before Zoom that you really need to watch, and it's only like 6 minutes long, is convergent thinking versus divergent thinking. And they're two very different ways of looking at things, but they're both really important. And like I said, it's a 6-minute long video. And then Crash Course has got an intellectual property video that talks about the ins and outs and some of the nuances. And I believe it's the first video in a series. Like if you're really, really interested, they've got more videos in that series that go in depth. But this introductory one's like 10 minutes long, and it'll give you some good information. Now, let's get back to this ethical considerations, ethical decision-making considerations. I guess I'm gonna have to open it in its own window. There we go. This is a document that's going to be the framework for a lot of our discussions coming up, all right? And it was kind of unwieldy and didn't copy well, so I made a Google Doc out of it. But there's really 5 steps I want you to think about, because one of the questions we've wrestled with is, well, how do you make an ethical decision? Like, whose ethics do we use? How do we know? And so there's some different steps here, and I want you to read through this because we're going to practice this in Zoom. So you're going to develop a problem statement. You see a situation, you're like, okay, so what's the actual problem? And it gives you some guidelines there, gives you some examples there. And then you're going to identify alternatives. So how do we solve this problem? This is where divergent thinking comes in. And it's kind of like brainstorming, or if you're familiar with design thinking, it's the ideation stage. It's where you just come up with all the ideas. You get as creative as possible because you never know, something might stick. And then the next section, choose an alternative. So you got all these ideas. Now you have to converge your thinking, convergent thinking. That's why this video is going to come in handy, that one that I told you to watch. Once you have all the possibilities, you have to look and say, okay, well, which of these possibilities can we actually do? Which one meets our guidelines? You know, are there any code of ethics that have guidance here? Do any of your own morals apply? And you have to pick one. Step 4, implement the decision. Now, given the scenarios that we'll be using, you'll have to sort of think through the next step or two as if you were actually able to do it. It might be a little harder, but implement the decision, okay, and decide, how is that working? Evaluate the results. Did we meet the criteria? So those are the 5 steps, okay? Let me back up here. So we've got develop the problem statement. I like this. Don't make assumptions, verify facts. Identify the alternatives, choose an alternative, implement a decision, evaluate the results. So that's all nice and theoretical. But down here at the bottom of this document, and this is part of your assignment, is this try it scenario. So this is kind of a business ethics sort of question. All right, and I'm going to make a whole video on this. I'm not going to go into too much more detail here. But part of your work this week will be to apply this decision-making scenario to some real alternatives. Come back wherever you are. Talk about tech. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you've got your decision-making scenario. Like I said, there will be a video there specifically for that assignment. And your week 5 Zoom chats, don't forget, what you're doing is signing up on Discord on the Zoom chat channel. So I believe Friday's full. So if you haven't signed up, make sure you click on the Tuesday one so you can participate. And then the final thing that we have down here for this week are the wiki policy comment briefs. Some of the comments were fabulous, actually, as I was going through them last night and this morning. Some of them are really, really good. You're taking a hold of it, you're extending it, you're sharing resources. That's really what I like to see. So I really have enjoyed seeing that process. That and on your takeaways and your checking ins. You guys are doing a really great job. So this week, keep in mind, we're talking about privacy. And what are the ethical issues on that? There's so many questions. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in Zoom so that we can hash some of this stuff out.